Hi, welcome to Back Talk here on the YBA Network. I'm your host tonight, John Hand. I have two YBA alums with me today, Chris Dugan and Eric Halperin. Chris is the director of UCTV down at UConn, and Eric is a reporter down at Elon University. Chris, how's UConn treating you?
It's treating me pretty well so far. Hopped in my second semester of freshman year, actually. Got pretty much right into it. You guys may know they won the basketball national championship, so that was obviously exciting. And then, last year, just the opportunities I think that it presents for you. I mean, you could probably say the same thing down in Elon, but being able to cover the sports teams there and go, travel to cover the team, going down to Louisville or to Florida to cover all events, it's a lot of fun.
How you liking Elon?
Yeah, similar story. First semester, freshman year, I joined, at the time it was called Phoenix 14 News. We did some rebranding over the summer. Now we're Elon Local News. And I started off with sports. Obviously our sports are nowhere near as big as UConn's, but our soccer team has actually gone to the NCAA tournament the last 2 years. So a little bragging point. I covered some soccer at the beginning of last year. What I found with sports is, as a sports fan, I don't know, going to the games kind of like, as a reporter, took the enjoyment out of it a little bit for me, and so instead I switched over to news more, and so now I do more news stories for Elon Local News. And
you recently covered the Democratic National Convention. How was that?
It was one of the best experiences of my news career down there, I guess, because I skipped class for the day. I got approved.
Which is the best part.
It was allowed. I talked to my professors, but I went down to Charlotte the night before. There were 7 of us crammed into this guy's apartment or whatever. Woke up early the next morning, and Elon does this thing called the Elon poll, and so they obviously poll a bunch of voters around North Carolina on different topics, and so there was a conversation at the DNC going on the next day with David Gergen. He's a CNN political analyst, so he was on that board, and then Charlie Cook, another big political analyst, was there, and so they talked about the results, and then after that I got to interview Charlie Cook, and then went back to my apartment that afternoon and had to get my story done by our 5 o'clock deadline, so it was just a really cool experience just for that day. It was my job to be a reporter, not a student.
That's definitely something that unique, not everyone gets to do. Chris, in Connecticut, UConn basketball is the biggest thing there. What's it like covering UConn basketball?
It's a lot of fun, definitely, for sure. Especially the team I think that you get to cover, there's never, I guess if you want to compare it to Boston, I wouldn't say it's as pressure packed, but being really the only team that they pretty much have in Connecticut, it's a lot of fun because it presents this, the whole following that they have. And I saw it firsthand, last year basically was my first full time, I guess, covering it. And it was a lot of fun because you cover the players that a lot of them are going pro. We see Jeremy Lamb and Andre Drummond last year, or this past spring, I should say, being drafted. And a coach like Jim Calhoun, I was able to actually go and cover his, retirement press conference. So, I was one of the first guys to talk to Coach Ollie and get a few answers from him about what he thinks going forward into the season. And just watching that team, I think, progress under a new coach, that's a great experience too, because you don't realize it at first. But you realize, some of the things you cover. I mean, obviously, Eric, with the Democratic National Convention, I don't think you realize it at first because you're going in and you're like, all right, it's kind of like, all right, you're just going in to do your job, and then you come out and it's like, wait a second, what did I do? You know what I'm saying? You realize after wow, I just covered this event, and it's it's crazy because last year I went and covered the the NCAA tournament, and it's it was overwhelming, you know what I'm saying? But then it's you realize all right, I have a job to do, I'm going to do it. And then after you can kind of look back and say wow, that was a lot of fun. And even same thing, a couple weeks ago actually, I was able to go to the Jimmy V Classic in Madison Square Garden. Yeah. So my first time going to Madison Square Garden, just a big arena like that, you always hear about Madison Square Garden, the most famous arena in the world. And then actually go there and be there part of the media and see the teams play, it was, I can't stress enough, the opportunities that are presented are really exciting.
So it sounds like both of you are having a lot of success at your respective schools, and both of you graduated from the YBA program. So how has YBA affected you guys in your college broadcasting careers?
For me, obviously, came into YBA and was able to read off a teleprompter probably my first day, and then did that many times here. And so then going off to school, I told some of the guys that were already in Elon Local News that the experience that I had, and because of that, I was able to hop right in terms of taking my own stories, and then I would have to write my own scripts. I still do, and that all started here. Like when I would start writing my scripts for different things that I did here, that practice helped me so much just to be able to hop right in when I got down to school, just to take my own stories and edit my own stories and write my own scripts, and it's just been great. It was definitely a really good starting point.
I would definitely agree. I don't think, for anybody else like out there that wants really something, to do and to start, especially, guys like you, in high school, I believe you said, and,
Right.
I know a couple other guys just being here that are even younger, middle school, elementary school even, I can't imagine, how much that's going to help them, because just like I tell people all the time, same thing, I go there and I said first time, I was like, oh, like I had a show or I have show experience, and that was able to get me the same thing, involved in a couple shows, do a couple segments, and then even last year, I was getting right into school. I was offered the opportunity to go cover a football game at Vanderbilt, and then even after that, just the opportunities and the trust I think that they saw in me and put that in me, and then they even encouraged me to go out and become sports director at the station, which I obviously applied for and was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be voted on. But it's just the experience that you gain here, it's so valuable, I think, because you go in there and you realize just how much you can do, and that not a lot of people, it'd be surprising, but not a lot of people, have those opportunities or availabilities. People stress so much that it's all about getting that opportunity, and it really does present that opportunity because, like I said, as I think us two are great examples. You go and you just get ready. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of other people, Alex Barr, same thing. I know he's a freshman in school. He's doing big things. He's just got an internship. So even when it comes to apply to that, they look for that. They look for that relative, there we go, experience. And it just allows you to get right in. Because, even one of the first people that I told that I got the position of sports director was Jimmy. Told my parents, and then right next to that, I sent Jimmy an email being like, they just thank you so much for what you provided me, because I know without this, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today.
It's such a confidence booster to have this background going into school, and then when I tell them I have this background, they tell me I can go do a story my first week or whatever. To be able to give it given that opportunity as a first-year student at school, it's just such a confidence booster. You feel really good about yourself, and then the confidence is huge, because then you're like, okay, I'll take a story next week too, and it's just a chain reaction of good things.
Chris kind of touched on this, Eric. You guys obviously have met a lot of people throughout your in the different organizations at the school for your broadcasting. Has anyone else had this type of experience? Has anyone had something like YBA at in their hometowns, or is this something really unique?
From the people I've met, nothing's jumping out at me that they had something. It's more Elon presented them the opportunity when they got there. They didn't really have anything before. They knew they wanted to do it as soon as they got there, but they didn't have the background before, so I can't say yes.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I know a lot of people are really interested in it, and that they come in, and a lot of people have these ideas, and I'm sure that's same thing. Even when I came in here, I had ideas as I'm sure a lot of the sports guys at least come in, being like, oh, I want to talk sports, I want to do this, and it's the same thing there at school. I've had a lot of guys actually come up to me with ideas being for segments and stuff like that, but they haven't, the same thing, they haven't had that that opportunity before, and UCTV presented them that opportunity now coming in, so they want to take advantage of that. So I think having a basis like YBA or something like that, where you can start before, get experience to go into it, is extraordinary, really.
Eric, what has been the coolest experience for you in broadcasting?
The coolest experience? Probably, like I said, the DNC earlier this year. That was definitely an aha moment where it was wow, it was the kind of, I realized that I was in the right major, because after that day when I was just finding a story and then putting it together, I had so much fun. I was like, all right, so I'm majoring in the right thing. I'm going in the right direction. And then probably my other my favorite experience this year was for the election. We tried to do, I say tried because obviously there's some bumps along the way. But last spring we got the idea, let's do a 7-hour live election show on election night. And so during that, I was kind of out reporting around Elon at different viewing parties, I guess. And so that was really cool. They would cut to me live to fill some of the show. And then when I came back to the studio, it was just amazing to see, like, before we actually reported, like, who won this state or who won the election, it was like, you know, like, no, like, we want 2 confirmations. And it was just, like, really cool to be a part of that, like, real news organization. Like, we're not going to say this unless we know it's true. And it was awesome.
Chris, has been here.
I'd probably say the tournament. You know, just going there and seeing how big it was and valuable it was. I knew, same thing, I pretty much knew, I think you reach a point where it's like, all right, I made the right decision, and I think that was definitely just how big it was and how exciting it was to cover an event like that.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you all to all you out there for tuning in. It has been truly great to talk to these 2 YBA alums. Make sure to tune in next time to get more great info about YBA. I'm John Hand, for Eric and Chris, we'll see you later.